They're just the same as anyone else in sport, even though they have physical disabilities. They tell us their stories about how they looked adversity in the eye and won. In the documentary about disabled sports on Russia Today.
IMHO, uncompromising, hard-hitting, controversial. A unique perspective on Russia from the inside. Peter Lavell's In My Humble Opinion, every Sunday on Russia Today. Some of them come to Sochi for a holiday. Others have been living in this area for over a century. This is a small, sleepy Estonian village hidden deep in the Caucasian mountains. Whether farming or practicing their crafts, these people keep their own traditions. Find out more about Estonians in the Caucasus in the Peoples of Russia documentary series on Russia Today.
Welcome back to Spotlight. I'm Al Gurnov, and just a reminder that our guest today is Sergei Mavrodi, the founder of a financial pyramid who has recently been released from a detention center in Moscow.
Mr. Mavrodi, you were a mathematician during the Soviet period and you had a hard time. Then business was made legal and you got involved in it by selling computers. And we stopped at the moment when you decided to create the MMM enterprise. Let me ask you a question. Had you initially planned it to become a doomed financial pyramid, so to say, for default and bankruptcy, sooner or later?
This is nonsense. Everyone calls it a financial pyramid, but nobody knows what it is. There is no such concept.
What do you mean?
Give an example.
They're used everywhere.
They don't exist anywhere. There are no laws for it.
But they exist in reality.
Well, they're used in conversations, but their meaning is decoded in some way. Or ask any expert. They won't be able to give you a clear answer. There is no such concept.
Let me explain what I mean by the concept of a financial pyramid. The investor's money is taken at a high rate of interest. The number of investors grows, the payment to the previous investors is paid back using new money and new income, and as it expands, at some point the money for payments runs out.
Well, any bank or financial structure could match such a definition.
But bank deals with loans and different types of financial activities. They take money with one interest rate and lend it with a different one. They make money on the financial markets.
Imagine that the bank has only two investors. They both arrive on the same day. The bank pays the interest rate, and then one of them wants their money back.
No, if investors take everything away, bank collapses.
Yes, but why could it collapse if it deals with investments and financial activities, as you call them? The pyramid elements, as they call them, exist in any financial structure to some extent. They are initially built into it. But talking about me specifically, they keep blaming it for this pyramid. But what pyramid can talk about that? What kind of pyramid can you talk when investments are being made in real assets?
Well, no, it's rather more philosophical concept. US dollar is considered to be a financial pyramid, by the way.
Why do you think that real assets are not secured?
All right. When you initially created this MMM investment and finance company, you didn't mean it to be a fraud. You didn't have the scheme in your head on how to collect the money and then...
Of course I didn't. Please note another point, which has been neglected the whole time. The complainants showed up only after the state has interfered. Until this happened, there were no complainants. Everything was going perfectly well. So the statement about the financial pyramid was invented by the state, even though it hadn't broken any laws at all. It was a private company which worked. It wasn't breaking the law. And then the authorities suddenly interfered in spite of their own laws.
And what they were afraid of, was it you being too wealthy?
In that situation, I became too wealthy and I became too big. A really large structure cannot coexist with the government. There shouldn't be a situation when someone can call for a referendum or remove the government altogether.
So those papers carrying your picture, which were shown on TV, were turned into another currency in the country, is that right?
Practically, yes.
And you became a parallel old state bank.
That's what essentially happened. Our points were in every corner, and that's what's really happened. And you could have come there. Many don't remember how MMM worked. They all believe that I took the money and didn't give it to anyone back. This is complete nonsense.
You have returned the money to some, but not to everyone. But you were going to return it, is that right? I don't remember everything, but millions of people were buying your papers, and your debt was growing geometrically.
No.
How were you going to earn the money to pay it back? You were not dealing with oil or gas.
What do you mean I wasn't? Both oil and gas, I still own 8% of Gazprom's shares. Gazprom shares, mind you. And there are lots of other oil companies as well. If you consider me from the point of view of that pyramid, this is the answer to all of your questions. All the questions. What do you mean I wasn't investing? I was in oil and gas.
So you insist that you had a certain scheme which would allow you to pay back the investors?
In essence, that's how things are now. It's all recorded in the details of the case, including 8% of Gazprom's shares and other facts. I'm not making it all up now in order to rehabilitate myself.
I heard one interview on your release where you were planning to pay back the rest of the investors. Is that true? Is there still a real scheme in place for you to pay them back?
I want to explain the situation. The court hearing took place. I've been in prison for my term. If the Constitutional Court doesn't overturn the decision of the Chertanovsky Court, then that's it.
Then why in the world pay the money back?
That's it. I've already said that the state has no more claims against me. I'm not obliged to give anything back. I might just own all of the assets. Nevertheless, I'm saying that I feel a moral obligation to the investors, and I will deal with the payments. I'm still condemned in relation to fraud and evil scheming. You see, the situation is just absurd.
Okay, in case everything goes well with the court hearing, you'll have to go back to your business in order to pay the money back. Or do you have the money hidden somewhere, perhaps?
It's not hidden, it's in the business. You see, the situation is absurd also because all of this information is included in my case. Those Gazprom shares are registered with certain people. All I have to do is take the money and pay it.
Will they give that money back?
There are contracts with them, and they have to be dealt with. I'm not trying to make it look better. I'm sincere when I say that it was a long time ago. There are such factors as human greed and integrity. There will be problems with some people, but it's quite obvious that there are hundreds of these people. Some will give, some won't.
So you don't see yourself as a fraudster. You believe you're a businessman who became a victim of circumstances.
Not of circumstances, but rather the state which destroyed everything. Again, it's all in the details of the case. There are direct reports from local administration officials to President Yeltsin on how work was ongoing to destroy MMM. There was an advanced government session. The deputy Mitrofanov, a public figure, could verify this for you. At that meeting, all of the ministers, including even the defense minister, Mr. Grachov, were a force which spoke negatively of MMM. You know, it's like a criminal gang. When they kill someone, every one of them has to stick the knife in. The state deliberately destroy the structure. However, if someone today says that Sberbank is fraudulent, they would be gone the next day.
Well, please tell me, if to make a structure like that today in Russia, would it actually work?
Of course it would. And not only in Russia, but in any country.
So you mean that people don't change and keep making the same mistakes?
Mistakes have nothing to do with it. If you give the money for free, who isn't going to take it?
Well, no one gives money for free in other countries like France or Germany or Andorra.
I don't really want to discuss it, even though I could say a few things about France or Andorra.
Don't their laws provide for this?
They provide for everything, and it's as easy as it is here.
Why? You said that you've never been abroad. Why don't you go to, say, state of Belgium, for example, and start a similar scheme there?
I have to wait for the Constitutional Court hearing first, and then I might think about Belgium.
But have you thought about it?
Let me assure you that in Belgium it would be even easier than here. Here the people are illiterate and it's difficult to explain to them, and people there understand things.
So, according to what you're saying, it looks like the people are illiterate here, and it is the businessmen who are illiterate there, and you're the only person who knows how to make big money. What is it? Is it they're lazy, or why don't they do it?
I know how to do it, but I don't know why they don't do it.
And what is your secret? Why did millions of people bring their money to you? Did you have a successful actors in your ads?
Seriously speaking, I believe that any large business should be done only on your own, and everything depends on your personality. I sincerely think so. The answer to why people brought the money, as that I was able to do it, there is no other answer. If there was a recipe for success, everyone would do it, but they don't, even though many want to.
What exactly were you able to do? You
Create such a structure.
Okay, it's easy to create something, just collect the documents and file them.
Not at all.
So what was the most difficult? Was it to persuade people to agree with the authorities to find money? What?
Everything was difficult.
Okay, for example, when I see the guys at the market play the cups, their main secret is to move the ball from one cup to another. So that is it.
Well, it's fraud.
Yeah, well, I know, but their secret is to know how to win. So what is your main secret? You say that you are unique. Is that so?
I think it's a combination of qualities, really. I'm trying to answer sincerely to you. That's why I just don't give a simple answer. I think about your questions, and then I give you an honest answer. It must be a combination of qualities. If you follow the development of any successful enterprise, you'll see there is one successful person in charge, as a rule.
Does that really mean spending 5 years in prison?
You see, there are other options. What's 5 years? It just happened that way. The authorities were really treading a fine line. In 1994, when I was already in prison, I knew that 100,000 people gathered outside the building on Petrovka Street, yelling my name so loud that the walls were shaking. I knew that when Lomers would come tomorrow, I could start a civil war, just order them to attack the Kremlin.
You're saying you were able to start a civil war in the country?
Of course.
And how many people would follow you?
Imagine that 10 million investors had family members. Do you remember what was going on in Moscow at the time?
Do you think that about 30 million people would take to the streets for you?
Of course not. But even a percentage of that number would be a large amount. Do you remember? Did you see the reports?
So you could have brought hundreds of thousands of people onto the streets, and why didn't you do it then?
You don't want to.
Weren't you brave enough?
You can't talk about being brave here.
But you're a businessman, which means you're a player.
It would mean blood being spilled. I don't want freedom at that price. It's true. I decided that it would be too high a price. There's a lot of people who would have done it in my place, even without thinking. When the authorities started the whole thing, they had no idea that they were playing with fire. But I decided not to do it.
And do authorities today realize that you have saved them from a civil war?
I don't think so. As you know, if I start paying back, there will be more problems. They say now that I'm a fraudster because I haven't paid the money back. And if I do pay out, I will become too powerful a political figure again. And the problems may start once again.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you for being with us, and just a reminder that our guest today was Sergei Mavrodi, the founder of the MMM financial pyramid, who has recently been released from a detention center in Moscow after serving 4.5 years. And that's it for today from all of us here.